Can we use ancient cosmetics to create a modern day makeup look? I think we can. I'm Erin Parsons. I'm a makeup artist who is beauty history obsessed, and we're gonna try this right now. Before I get into this video, a warning. Yes, a warning. Do not try any of these techniques at home. To be honest, a lot of these pigments in this video that were used in ancient times, we know, of course, are toxic, especially when breathing in the dust. So please don't try any of this at home. In the past, I have used these in short form videos. However, I didn't always put a warning. I do regret that. I never thought anybody would recreate any of these techniques. And as far as I know, no one has. But if you were going to do it, you are in for some exercise because this takes hours and hours of grinding to get down to a fine powder dust, which we can then use as a pigment for our makeup. So there's your warning. Don't try this at home. Some of these are toxic, and we're gonna put it on my face. Now let's start with the eyebrows. Now in ancient China during the Tang Dynasty, the women would totally pluck out their eyebrows and completely redraw them on. So we've got to say goodbye to my eyebrows. I am not going to tweeze them. I am going to shave them off. Okay, now that our eyebrows are gone, in China, they would use willow branches and they would burn the willow branches and draw the eyebrows on. I don't have willow tree branches, but I do have cork. In ancient Greece, they would use burnt cork, which I've already burnt the top and I've tried this a few times. You basically just take your lighter and you just burn the cork. And you don't even have to burn it very much. And you should have your eyebrow powder. But if it's not perfect, this is our modern day look, so I can clean it up, brush it out using Q-tips. But we're gonna go in with the burnt cork and I'm just gonna try to draw. Actually, that doesn't look bad. Let's try the other side. Oh, I actually love the color that is giving. Oh my gosh, that's crazy dark. If you've ever seen in ancient China, they would do these cloud brows, and I believe they would literally just take this and just do a little dot on the brow. So I think it should be pretty easy to blend. Look at that. Okay, that brow shape is horrendous, so we're going to fix that right now. So I'm just gonna take a Q-tip with a little bit of makeup remover and clean up around. Okay, we know it works. We know the product works. But if I sit and do this on camera, we're gonna be here for 30 minutes. So let me do this off camera like every YouTuber does, and I'll be right back with some very perfect eyebrows. Okay, that's the eyebrows finished. They're not perfectly even, they never are. I'm not gonna worry about it. Now let's go on to our eyeliner. Native Americans, the Nuba tribe from Sudan, they would all use charcoal, which is basically wood pieces, and when you burn wood in a fire long enough, it creates like carbon, and it's very, very easy to break apart. And it will create the most intense black pigment. You can just easily grind this in, of course, a mortar and pestle, but to save time, I'm just throwing all of these charcoal pieces into my flour grinder. It grinds up quite fast and extremely fine. Here you can see it on the top of the lid. Now I've added it into this bowl, as you saw, and I'm just going to mix a little bit of water with it. We're going to create our eyeliner. So taking that pigment and just mixing in a little bit of water. Okay, and you're going to create basically a paint, and here's what it goes on like. So pigmented. Now I have done this in the past and people asked me if it lasts. I actually went to the grocery store wearing this and I even got complimented on my eyeliner. So I'm gonna try to do this looking in the monitor so you guys can see. But you can see how well it goes on. That's pretty good. I'm gonna take a Q-tip and just start to clean up that shape. Okay, gonna clean that up, do the other side, be right back. Okay, that's the eyeliner. It's as even as I'm gonna get it. But the great thing is you can just keep putting your water back inside of this and re-wet. As far as I know, it's safe. I don't know if it's eye safe, but as far as I know, it's human skin safe. Okay. Got the eyeliner on, got the eyebrows. I need eyeshadow. In ancient Sumer, they found shells with a green substance, which is basically a copper ore. This also goes back to ancient Egypt. There are actually statues from that time that show this product underneath of the eye. And that product is malachite. Now malachite normally comes in a large rock. When I bought this, I bought small particles, so I can easily take these and crush them up and make a pigment. I've done this experiment before. I grind it in a mortar and pestle. This takes forever to grind down to a fine dust. But when I experimented with this, I wasn't sure of the binder. So I had tried animal fat, it didn't quite work. And then I tried just pure water. It worked, but it got a little bit choppy. So I did a bit of research. What kind of resin would they have used, say, in ancient Egypt? I know that gum arabic was used during mummification, so they definitely would have had this product. It basically comes from trees. It's like a resin from a tree. Now, if you mix that with water and a little bit of honey, and honey they definitely would have had during those times, you can actually make something called a gouache. And it is basically a paint for like watercolor painting. So I've mixed up the formula and put it inside of this pot, and it's quite liquid. But if you put on a thin coat and then you allow that to dry, it actually dries down sort of like a gouache paint. It basically is that. So we're gonna start with one layer on the eyelid. Now, from everything I've read, malachite dust is extremely toxic to inhale, but it seems once you make it into a paint, I don't wanna say it's safe, but you're definitely not gonna be breathing in the dust. Look at that color. Oh my God, is that stunning. Once I let this dry, I'm just gonna clean up the edge with a Q-tip. Is this what they would have used back then? This is amazing. When they looked and tried to figure out what resins were inside of the pigment, it was unconfirmed. So as far as I know, they don't know what resins were used, but if this is the product that was used, it would make sense because it worked. Okay, the malachite is on. Now, malachite was also found in pre-dynastic Egypt. This is long before the pyramids. This was found at Badarian graves, and there was another product that was also found, and that is galena. Galena is actually still used as eyeliner in some parts of the world today. Now, this is actually a lead sulfide, so obviously not considered safe. I'm going to need to take this, hammer it, get it into tiny little particles, then I will put it in my mortar and pestle and grind to a fine dust. And this is what it looks like when it's finely ground up. You can see it's a gray, silver, there's sparkle to it. Now, I'm not exactly sure how I want to use this. Do I do it as like a shadow? Do I mix it with a little water and try to do a bit more of an eyeliner under the eye? I think we're gonna play. Now, I probably could create the same resin mixed into this like we did with the malachite and create another sort of eyeshadow, but I think I am gonna see what this does just with water. I think on its own, if the dust itself is toxic, I'm gonna wanna get this wet. Okay, I've taken a bit and added it onto a plate so I can mix in with water. Here's what it looks like. Gonna mix in a bit of water here. And I'm just gonna mix it together. Okay, I'm gonna take this brush. Now, as far as I know, the way that they would use this product is they would put it inside of like a coal container, and they take the stick, dip it in, and they put it inside the eye, and then they pull. And that's still used in India today. You can find coal containers far back from ancient Egypt, and they would be either very intricate if you were wealthy, or very simple, just a pot and a stick if you were not so wealthy. But everyone wore makeup. That's what I find so fascinating. That's actually really cute. Oh my God. Let me not get hooked on putting galena on my eyes. I am shocked people still use this today though. I mean, we know it's lead, we know it's dangerous, but thing is, back in the ancient times, they would actually use products like this to protect the eyes, not only from the sun, but protect them from bugs, insects, and disease. Okay, rough draft, but you can really see how silver it is compared to the charcoal black liner. Okay, I'm going to clean this up and try to make them even as possible. And I'll be back because we have to do some rouge and of course some lipstick. Okay, the galena is on. Definitely difficult to get it very precise. It's more like a smudgy shadow, but I use a little bit of foundation to clean it up on the edges. Now I want to pull you in a bit closer. The malachite on the lid. It is more so on this side where I put more layers. It is getting a little choppy. Not bad though, not bad. You can see it's a little bit smoother on this side. Maybe if you're young and you have perfectly smooth eyelids, not like me, it might work better, but I am pretty impressed with that resin combination. I'm so happy that worked out. So that's what the eye looks like now. So I haven't powdered my face and I have a light foundation on right now, but if it was ancient times, what would the foundation be? There is only one that everyone knows of, and that's lead. Now this actually is pure lead. This is powdered pure lead. Lead goes back to ancient Greece, and from what I have read, you would mix it with vinegar and chalk, which is a calcium carbonate, and it would create a paste. And then, as you can see in these pictures, you would put them in these sort of discs, and you could use that as a paste and make the skin very pale. Of course, in those days, ancient Greece, this was also used in China. It was not based on white beauty as we know today in the European standards, because they weren't colonized at that time. It was based on who worked in the fields and who was wealthy and stayed indoors. And that's where the pale skin sort of came from. So yes, they would use lead paste, which is extremely toxic. And the crazy thing is, they knew it was poisonous. Pliny the Elder actually said this about lead. He talks a lot about it, about cosmetics, in one of his books. In one of them, he says, "It is, however, the mildest of all the preparations of lead, in addition to which it is also used by females to whiten the complexion. It is, however, like scum of silver, a deadly poison." So they knew it was poisonous, and they continued to use it for centuries. I'm sure that you've heard of Queen Elizabeth being poisoned by her own makeup. We don't know if that's the actual cause. Like, I'm a scientist. As far as I've read, no one knows if that's actually what caused her. She lived a pretty long life, even if she did use her ceruse on her face. I'm actually not going to use lead on my face today. Take a deep breath, feel the relief. I'm too scared, to be honest. The truth is, I don't really know exactly how to make it, so I would have to talk with a chemist. I do want to try it one day, just once. Just try it on to see why everyone loved it, even knowing it was poisonous, that they would use it all of those years. But what I do know is that they made fun of cosmetics. They didn't really like women to wear cosmetics, even in ancient Greece, and yet they needed them to be beautiful wives. It's kind of crazy, but basically I think that the makeup would have been done in a way just to lighten the skin and not look like a very heavy makeup. So what I'm gonna do is take a white cream and make my face a little bit lighter and keep it safe. Okay, I've gone in with a little bit of the Mayron Clown White, and I've just patted it into my skin to give more of a pale effect. My gosh, I can't get any paler, but I think it would have looked something like this. It would have just looked whitened and not a thick paste like maybe you see on Queen Elizabeth. I don't know how she did it, but from what I read, in ancient Greece, they really didn't want to look like they were wearing makeup, even though everybody knew they were. Now, mixed with the lead, as I mentioned, would have been French chalk. And again, this is calcium carbonate. And this was even used in like the Marie Antoinette days. So what I'm gonna do is set my face with this French chalk. I'm just gonna go over everything because now I wanna go into blush and lipstick. For our rouge, we're gonna go in with red ochre. Now this rock is actually still used in cosmetics today. This is probably the oldest piece of possibly cosmetic history. So this actually goes back to Paleolithic times. They know that the Neanderthals would use this, whether it was used as war paint or just as cave paintings. I don't know if they know that they used it as cosmetics per se. They found this in ancient Sumer next to Queen Puabi's grave. In Namibia, they still use this today. The Himba people actually cover their hair and bodies in a red clay soil, which is basically the red ochre. There's actually a picture of a Minoan woman on a fresco, and she has lipstick on, so we know it was used then. The way to make this into a pigment, I will need to crush it with a hammer, go back into my mortar and pestle, and continue to grind this until I get a fine powder. The way red ochre is used in modern days, they tend to make it more synthetic, so it keeps it safe, because this has a possibility of having lead in it too, so making it synthetic is just a safer version. But when it is ground up, it basically looks like this. And actually, this makes the most incredible blush. Okay, so we've placed it into this container here. You can use this dry as a rouge, as a blush. I'm just gonna take a little bit off of my brush onto my hand. And the amazing thing about red ochre is you can also mix with a little bit of oil and use it on the lips, and you're gonna get exactly what's on Nefertiti's bust. You see her wearing that lipstick? That was red ochre. As usual, I've done too much. Go back in with my powder puff. Imagine this on Nefertiti on a deep skin. This reminds me, actually, if anybody's familiar with MAC Raisin, that was such a popular shade, especially in the 90s. Or the lips, same red ochre powder, but now I've mixed in a little bit of olive oil inside. And because there is that papyrus of the woman using the brush, I'm actually going to use a lip brush and apply the red ochre. I had a little bit of lip liner on this entire time. My lips are intensely dry, so I'm looking forward to putting oil on my lips. That color is stunning. That color is absolutely stunning. Okay, I added some lashes on top and a bit of mascara on bottom. I mean, lashes actually were patented in 1902, false lashes, so it's not too inaccurate, and it is a modern look. Mascara, of course, launched from Maybelline in 1916, so it's still over 100 years old. Now I want to go in with my beauty mark. I'm already filled in, but if we go back to the 16th century and Marie Antoinette days, they would have used a mouche, and a mouche in French means fly. They're just little beauty marks. I have them in all different sizes. These actually go back to the 1800s, this particular one. And I have some in large size and medium and small, but I just want to put a small one on because I think in a modern day we wouldn't go too large. Okay, I've put one on my tweezer, and in order to use it, it has mastic on the back of it. So you just lick it and you're going to stick it right on that beauty mark. Is that absurdly not modern? I always wear a beauty mark, so for me it's totally fine. That's actually made of velvet. I think that's so cute. Okay, now for the final act of this ancient transformation. If we go back in time, and we are going to go to ancient Egypt, there are many wigs in the museums, but there's one in particular. It is from Merit's wig I saw in person when I was in Italy. It is braided, it's long, it's parted in the center. I believe it's at the Met. There are these actual hair extensions, again braids. In Egyptian times they would just shave off the hair and wear a wig. This helped prevent any lice, and that was very common all throughout the centuries of just shaving your head and wearing a wig up into the 1600s and everything. Kirk and Ern Westmore worked for Max Factor in the 1930s. They created this wig, I believe, for possibly Cleopatra with Claudette Colbert. This is the 1930s, and I really want to put it on with this. Now, I'm not trying to do a cultural appropriation moment. The wig is made of string, and I don't think that this makeup is an Egyptian makeup look, so I think I can get away with it. Okay, I'm gonna try it on. Okay, this wig, I don't think it really fits me because the bangs keep wanting to stick up. I imagine it was probably on one of the extras. And if you watch that movie, that Cleopatra movie with Claudette Colbert, she wears her real hair with this sort of style. Obviously, it was meant to mimic an Egyptian wig. There's a lot more pigments that we can do from ancient times that span the entire world. I barely scratched the surface on this one. Cosmetics go back for so many thousands of years, so there's so much more we can do. Some toxic, some non-toxic, but that is the final look, and I think we succeeded in a modern look using ancient cosmetics. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to bring you more ancient, more beauty history. Love having you guys along on this ride, and I will see you on the next one.